Here.
Mrs. Movement,
Here.
Mr. Roberts,
Here.
Ms. Mitchell.
Here. We are all here and accounted for. If we can please stand for item 1.2 and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You may be seated. All right, at this time, we are at item 1.3, and just before we started the meeting, it was noted that we need to make a few changes. So if I can have a motion on the floor to approve tonight's agenda with the following changes. Item 3.2 will move to section 2.2. Item 2.2 will then become, the current 2.2 will become item 2.3. And we are going to table 3.1, the first reading of our policy volume 40, number 1, until our May 11th work session as per the request of our superintendent, as our policy partner on the board, Ms. Gator, is on vacation this evening. So with these changes, may I please have a motion on the floor to approve tonight's agenda?
Madam Chair, I move to approve 1.3 agenda for today on our work session. With the following changes, we would like to actually move 3.2 now will be 2.2 from tonight's agenda, and make the change of 2.2 will be moved to 2.3 on tonight's agenda, and we will table 3.1 of the policies providing for number 1.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, ma'am. It's been moved and properly seconded. Board, is there any discussion on this item? Hearing none, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Movement,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 4-0. At this point in time, we're at item 1.4, public participation. We do not have anyone in the audience this evening to participate. And Mr. Jolly, did we receive any emails?
No, ma'am. We have not received any emails.
All right, thank you. We're gonna move right along. We do encourage people to please come and join our board meetings. We are live again. They are the second and fourth Wednesdays of the month here at the Municipal Center. We still make sure that we are socially distanced in our seating, and we do look forward to seeing you in person at the meetings. Next on our agenda is item 2.1, open enrollment discussion. And Mr. Jolly, I'm going to turn this over to you.
Yes, I appreciate the opportunity. I know last month I brought to the board 8 steps. So, you know, it's a very brief presentation, but it does go over some of the things that we talked about before. Jonathan, we can move to the next slide. So again, I went over this. There is district policy that talks about what open enrollment is. And basically it's a student in one public district that can go to another public district. Currently in our district, we have 10 employees who have their children enrolled in our district, because we do have a limited open enrollment policy for full-time employees only. So a full-time employee can send their child to our school district. I think it's very good because it does show the confidence in our district that people want to send their children to our district. Again, each scholar equates about $7,000 per student, and in the state of Ohio, out of 612 districts, 173 currently have some type of open enrollment. So basically, and I'll go back over the law, but basically the law states that you have to set capacity levels for every grade level. And once you set those capacity levels for every grade level, then you could determine if you have space available for open enrollment. So for us, you know, we have very limited space at our elementary school. As you can see, if we set the amounts with 22 per class, which is pretty much our maximum at the elementary school to optimize learning, you'll see that the elementary school is over. It's over, but it says 840. Right now we're over 900. So when I did this, we were we're at 840, but we're over 900 there at this time. But that's excluding pre-K. That should be in that count. But again, due to the enrollment at the elementary school, I would not recommend any open enrollment there. We just do not have any space for open enrollment at all. Next slide, we'll go to the middle school. And at the middle school, we have space constraints at the middle school. They're in John Dewey. It is not enough space at all. We do have a little room, but it's still over capacity there, about 45 students. With the space capacity, we have no, and then we also have to remember that kids are going to transfer in and transfer out, which would then make that place unbearable. So I do not recommend any space there. And this is staffing us at 22 in the class, which we have found to be our most optimum level. Now, we do have some over 22, some under 22, but that's with our threshold moving forward, what has been. And then at the high school, so at the high school, again, as I went through this progression, as you can see, it is a negative 22 seats, where the statement we will have 22 seats available there. But again, the ninth grade, if you look at that ninth grade number, 107, some of those students are non-promoting students, so those are kids that don't have enough credit. So that number is a little large. Currently, we have 108 10th graders. 108 8th graders that would be coming over here. So to get to that 150 will kind of be, I don't know if we will get close to that 150. So, but also at the elementary school, in which, can you go back with Sean, which we're going to have to cut off half the school, the science hallway, which is 10 classrooms there. We're going to have space capacity there. So with that, is my recommendation. I believe we can absorb 25 students at the high school on a limited basis. Again, this will be a trial basis to see how it works, but to open 25 seats at the high school, and that'll be a various different levels. We have a little space in the go back to high school, John. If you look at the 10th grade, we got some space. It's only 118 10th graders. 11th grade, those would be upcoming 11th graders, and we have 115 juniors right now. So we got space in the junior class also. And then the freshman class is not going to be 170 because some of those students are going to matriculate to the 10th grade because they don't earn their credits. Some of those are overage students who don't have enough credits to go to 10th grade. So we can easily absorb, in my opinion, 25 students at the high school on a trial basis, a year-by-year basis to see how it goes.
So you're not recommending any student for the middle school, 6 through
8, no open enrollment for 6 through 8 or elementary.
Okay.
We don't have the space in the middle school. In elementary, we really don't have the space. And part of this, we don't want to add any staff members or anything. We don't want to add any new, but our class sizes at the high school are not 25. Most of them between, I would say, 16 and like 21. So we do have space at the high school to absorb 25.
Okay.
Next slide. So again, the pros and cons, and I did go through this the last meeting with Add Money. We get calls all the time, Ms. Rudolph and others, about students who live close to the district that want to come to the district but don't live in the district. It'll ensure that our programs are full to capacity. We have a lot of interest in a lot of different programming, and some of them we don't have enough people. At some points, our fire has not been full. Again, as we try to build this band with 80 people in the band, we bought 80 uniforms. We're at 32 right now. There's a lot of opportunity for us to bring students to fulfill some of our program. Again, when people want to move to your district, it improves our image and desirability, which I think we're doing. And also, one of the key things is like when kids, a lot of families have to move or move out the district and they want to keep their kid in the district. This is an avenue that we can make exceptions. The cons of it is that, the property taxes at that home district stay there, but we still get the money that comes with the student.
Oh, okay.
Those parents can't vote for levies because they're not registered voters in the community, but we're only talking about 25. The transportation, there is some limited responsibility for transportation, payment in lieu. So that's not 100% correct. But they will have to get them here, but then we can do payment in lieu. On the social factor, the scholars might be treated as outsiders, but we would definitely have a process of ambassadors and different things to help with that. And then the seats available. Again, that's what we talked about earlier, how many seats available. And that will be determined by how many kids in that group, how many sections we have, and do we have the space. All right, next up. Yes, ma'am.
You know, I think the ambassadorship is a great idea. Is it something that we could offer for even just students moving into the district?
Right. So I know our elementary school already does that. Miss Bishop does that. I believe the middle school also has students who follow that help introduce students to the district.
Okay.
But I think that's something that we'll formalize more,
Right.
where actually they get jackets or something to actually show who they are, so everybody knows who these young people are.
Coming into a middle school is hard as is high school.
Especially high school. All right, next slide, sorry. So this is the law, and it just explains what I just said about building those capacities. It's saying that there's also some restrictions. You cannot have an academic requirement. They're saying that, we can't force people to play sports or anything like that, or basically discriminate for any reason. But there are some thresholds we can put in place to ensure that the district is not taking on additional costs by bringing these young people on.
Can I go back with one question? The IEPs, so are we going to be, or do we have a way of articulating so parents coming in will know specifically which ones we do not and are not able to support?
Right. So part of that process is that we're going to have an application process and an interview process, so that if that child, we don't have the capacity to meet that child's requirements, then that child won't be able to come to the district. So we have to have an opening first in that area. If we don't have an opening, then we can't accept them.
Okay.
Now, if we do have an opening, then we would have to look to accepting them. One of the things, and I found this is very noteworthy, is that they say you cannot, like behavior issues, that you don't have to take some behavior issues. But there's a caveat on it. If that child was expelled or suspended the prior semester, then you don't have to receive them into the district. I'm trying to think anything else. So again, we cannot deny any native students who are live in the district. So just say a kid goes somewhere else, then we have to take them first before we take anybody else. So again, we really want to do this very, very strategically, because we know that kids will come naturally to the district, and that's why we don't want to introduce it at the middle or elementary school. But we also have to prepare, because the elementary school is going to probably get more students anyway. So we want to be strategic in this. And I think the high school is the best opportunity right now to try it out.
Okay.
Next slide. All right, and then the transportation. So the parents can get bus transportation.
Okay.
They could transport their child to one of our regular bus stops. So just say if you live on Miles, you could bring them up to Ingleside, they catch the bus there. That's all. That's good. If the parent is can't afford to get them there, then they could do the payment in lieu, which we already do for charter schools. So payment in lieu is basically we can't send a bus, but they can request a payment in lieu of transportation, which was $250 in previous years, but I've been informed it's a little more now. So we have to figure out how much that cost is. But for anybody who wants to come to our district, the expectation is that you'll get them here. That we're not sending buses all over the Northeast Ohio to bring students to the district. If you make the choice to come to Warrensville, then you should get them here.
Okay.
So yeah, and these are all some of the provisions we want to put in there as we're going to look at that all students must be in good standing. Of course, we want students to be in good standing to come. Children of non-resident employees were given second order priority. So again, those are already parents, employees, bringing them. Siblings who have students enrolled in the district. Again, we look at those people also. We want to make sure that in order to be considered, you have all your documents in place for registration. And, you know, we're looking at high school students. If we don't provide the support for you to come, you know, we're not going to allow you in to come here because we don't have it. Again, that's part of that strict criteria. And then this is the one about the kids suspended for 10 days or expelled by law that we don't have to admit in.
Oh, good.
Superintendent Jarvis, can you get back to that, last thing? There's some stating about parents' income, I think?
Nothing about income. We don't have any income no income requirements.
Jonathan, go one more, go one more back.
Oh, this is about the
Parents'
transportation.
income falls below federal poverty level.
That's for transportation.
Yeah, so we assume, based on our designation, that all our parents fit inside of that, even though that's not true. All our parents are not under poverty, but we assume that based on our universal feeding system where everybody gets free lunch. But everybody we know, I think 54 or 55% of our parents are not under the poverty line.
Right.
But due to other factors, we fall under that criteria.
One other question, Superintendent, I know in 2015, we were under 1,400. You know where we at today, or 18?
We're at 1805 as of today.
Thank you.
All right, I'm sorry. So one of the other things is that we're also looking at if once you in throughout your process, so you hold your spot. So if you say you come in 9th grade, we're not going to kick you out in 10th grade. You know, you
don't have to reapply?
You don't have to reapply. Once you in.
Oh, okay.
And then if you move out of the district during a per year, say a student moves out, like I said earlier, you can stay and finish the year out in the district. A lot of times people leave and they want their kid to finish, but because of the law and so forth. And we've made exceptions in certain cases, especially with seniors.
Will that just pertain to that particular school year, or can I finish and graduate here if I got here, if I've been here the entire time? And if I move in the 11th grade, can I finish 11th and also 12th grade?
So this does allow that. We will allow that to happen. We do that with seniors already. So seniors, the senior rule, a senior can finish out. But this will allow a student who wants to remain in the district to remain in the district. But again, once they hear, they hear. And then if we do another batch of open enrollment, it'll be based on the conditions that year. So these people will already be part of our mix.
So that was a question that I had. Open enrollment will only be available only if we have the capacity.
Only if we have the capacity. So it's a yearly review of where we are.
One quick question. Do you have someone in mind that is going to monitor the open enrollment?
Yes, so Ms. Rudolph will be in charge of the open enrollment.
Okay.
Ms. Rudolph she will take the applications,
Uh-huh.
she'll filter them to the principal, and she'll be in charge of that whole process.
Oh, wonderful.
I'll go to the next one. And then this is about sports and all of those things. Now, if a kid becomes truant and doesn't come to school, then we'll go through the process to withdraw that student.
Okay.
Because these are highly coveted spots. You go to the next one. So our plan is to open 25 seats for the high school, only due to the capacity issues. Designate 1 week only for applications. We don't want 2,000 applications. We want to really, if you're paying attention, you'll know 1 week to advertise. We'll advertise like a week or two, and then we have a small window. They'll review the applications, and then they'll do a selection interview process. Just bring people in, talk to them, see if it's a good fit, look at their IEPs, so forth, make sure we can accommodate them. And then we'll notify the parents before August 1st. I anticipate before then, but I just put that in there. And again, this could be revised before we come back to you to look at.
So this plan is for the 22-23 school year?
Yes, ma'am. Next slide. So what's next steps? The next steps is that we will have to amend this policy. And these are some of the things that what I just discussed about amending the policy. We'll make the policy be amended to fit these criteria. And you see, I put the capacity limits in place, all the things we discussed. Who would it report to? What's the time frames and so forth? Next one, John. And then we will have to, this is still part of the policy. Then the next one. And then the board will have to pass a resolution approving the change of the policy.
Okay.
So, Mr. Jolly, when are you looking for us to vote on this? Later this month?
Either later this month or May.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. I know we are missing a member, so, but I would like the board to consider this as soon as possible so that we can start this process.
Okay.
We do have to submit some things to the state in order to get it approved.
Okay.
So if we could, the 27th, it would be great.
Okay.
That'll work.
That'll work.
Now, you would let pupil services handle all of
People Services will handle it all. They handle enrollment. Anyway, they already have an online application. Are there any other questions?
No, sir.
All right.
So I guess we're gonna go to item 2.2, the proposed new student participation policy.
Yeah, switch. This one will be fast, fellas. I'm sorry. I know. Johnny, can you put the other one up? Go through with the board what our plan is for next year, because we already got a policy that addresses this. But one of the issues that we see with this pandemic and coming back from the pandemic, that we have a group of kids that do everything, and we got a group of kids that do absolutely nothing. And then we got a group of kids that's in the middle. We got a group of kids that do everything. We got a group of kids that get a lot of support because they don't do nothing, so they have interventions and all that, so people pay a lot of attention to them. Then we got a middle group of kids that just come to school. So in trying to address the issues that remain and trying to build our school to be a vibrant school where everybody feels like they're part of something, I believe that there's somehow or another we have to get everybody involved in something. If it's not a sport, it's a club, but it has to be some part of school they have to be part of. So this school participation mandate, even though we can't mandate it per se by law, we can strongly encourage and put things in place for students to participate. So I just want to go through this real quick because this is going to be our plan moving forward to get everybody involved. Jonathan. So the law, basically what I said is that you can't mandate anybody to participate in extracurricular activities. But we can incentivize it, but coordinated with graduation. So part of the graduation, if you go to the next one, is the student engagement seal. This is one of the seals that students can use to graduate. And basically what it does is says a student met the requirement for this seal by participating in extracurricular activities such as athletics, clubs, student government, to a meaningful extent as determined by the following guidelines. So as you see the guidelines, they can earn 4 credits, which is, that can all be in 1 year. You can play 2 sports, or it could be as a freshman, sophomore, junior, you doing something every year. So some kids might have 8 or 9 seals. 8 or 9 credits. And so we can highly encourage in the force. So you see with the athletics, they have to play for a season to earn 1 credit. They can earn up to 3 athletic credits. So they still have to do something else as part of that. And then participate in the club or extracurricular activity for 1 year. So 80% of participation. So if they meet once a month, what that criteria might be. You can move to the next one. So these are all the existing things. These are ones that are part of the contract that we pay people to do. That's part of extracurricular activities, and y'all are familiar with all of these already. Dance, yearbook, newspaper. I spelled that wrong. I'm sorry. Choir. If you can move to the next one. These are all the ones. Now the Culinary Club is something new that we started since we've been here, having kids involved in that. But again, these are mainly sports. These are mainly, National Honor Society and all those things that, again, we're dealing with the athletes and we're dealing with the smart students, the real exceptionally smart students. And then we got the athletes. And most of the kids are doing multiple sports. The ones that play sports are doing multiple. So what I did is I did a survey for all the teachers to see what teachers would be interested in sponsoring. And these are some of the results that we found. So our anime club, book club, like book studies, we already have a mock trial team, and we're working on that. A bowling club was mentioned, a golf club, a creative writing poetry club. We have teachers all lined up for all of these. A film club. I think this is going to be real exciting to start a film club with kids, either watch movies or make their own movies, or do, these TikToks and all those different things. So we have people that want to do that. We have people that want to do a gay straight alliance club at the middle and high school. We have teachers that want to do a tutoring club where older students tutor younger students.
Well, that's
You
good.
can move forward. Then we have the FBLA, that's a business club, like an association that kids get in. At the middle school now, we have a fitness club where kids go out to school and work out. A gaming club, we have that at the middle and the high school already, where we have PlayStation 5s and different things for the kids to do for us. Public speaking club is something someone's interested in. An AV club, where they learn how to do the stuff Jonathan is currently doing, where we have kids where he can train them to preferably next year, he don't have to come, we have a student come in his stead. A podcast club, we have people very interested in that. A gospel choir, again. I don't know if we had a teacher sign up for that, but we'll have to find somebody to do that. Esports, which we bought the materials, they're setting the room up. That's another one, the FCCLA. We have people that want to do the STEAM club, entrepreneurship club. Many teachers are very active in wanting to do that. Jonathan, the next one.
I'm sorry, what's
Go back.
FCCLA?
So that's something with career tech. I got to get the acronym
okay.
exactly what it is. But that's a career tech club.
Okay.
So then basically our next step is that we're going to conduct a survey of the 6th to 12th graders to see what clubs they want. So we got the teachers, because we needed them to be the advisors, but now we're going to see what the kids want, and then see if we can marry them together. Then we're going to have an activity fair for scholars to sign up. So basically, we have the advisors at the school, and the kids could go around and sign up. Even with the sports, we're going to try to do it different. So before the school year end, all the kids that come back, they're going to sign up for something. And then the activities start in August of 22, this August. But some of them going to start before August. The band going to start before August. Football going to start being volleyball. But prayerfully, if we have them sign up, the coaches and things stay in contact with the students, we get more participation. That's the goal. Middle school. Next year, the hope is that we can report out every month how many kids are participating in activities throughout the district. I believe that this is going to be a game changer because everybody, when you feel part of something, you come to school and you do your best.
Right.
When you feel disconnected, then you'll miss school. It's not important for you to come to school. I know many of us who played sports and did different things, you came to school because you wanted to play. So if you are an anime drawer and that's what you like to do and you do it twice a week, that's your motivation to come to school, to be part of it. Or you like shooting videos, okay, now we're going to meet that need. So this is our plan. I wanted to just share that with the board, and we will unveil this to our staff soon and start to get students signed up and start moving forward.
Yeah, I have a quick question. So some of these, if we don't have an educator to support each of these clubs, what if we have other folks that could come in and do something as a supplemental? Like I was thinking, for example, the filmmaking, the videography. That's really something that could help a child get ready for a career.
So I think that those are all things we're going to put on the table. Once we get the interest from the students, then we can find people to do it.
Okay.
So we can do consulting agreements with people to do it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
We just need to have the interest.
Gotcha.
Just get the interest. So once we do the interest survey, then we'll start to coordinate who does what. In our contract, we do pay teachers to do clubs. So the teachers would be real easy to pay to do the club.
Yeah, back to this, actually the similar question that Tracy just asked is, I'm looking at community engagement. Like, like some choirs has excellent, people in that choir that could come in and train our children. So if we could just open a lot of that up to the community and let them know, that we're looking for volunteers to come in and help. And you may be surprised how many people that may volunteer to come in.
Yeah, and you know what? We could
That's a good
like
idea.
post for a gospel choir director.
Yes.
We could. I mean, that's something.
Volunteer, we have to make, they understand.
Yeah, I don't know how many people gonna volunteer to do that. That's a lot of work.
I mean,
But you know, a little token of appreciation. Some people that's their passion. They
Right.
lit up to sing and,
Right.
and do choirs.
Right.
So I think we appeal to that. But I think we got to get back to like gospel choir and doing things that kids like to do.
Yes.
Right.
You know, the pandemic happened. Nobody was engaged in a lot of activities. But what I'm saying is that when kids feel like they're part of something, yeah, they come to school, they perform better, they try harder, and they do better.
Right.
So as a collective district, I think that is something that,
I have one more statement, and it's called Road to Employment. And I think what bothers me a lot of time, when you go around all these places and you see for hire, and yet we have young people in our high school that need jobs. So I'm trying to figure out a way that we can go to the different businesses and see what, if we have a 10th grader or 11th grader that is in this program, Road to Employment, that we could help them find employment. Or we have a contract with, I'm gonna say, let's say Popeyes. Let's say we have a contract with Popeyes, and Popeyes has opening they need help from 6 to 9. Can we get one of our students to fill, and how do we do that? You know,
yeah, so I agree. I think that is something like recently I went somewhere and the guy said he wants to train students to like fix cars. So I connected him with the guidance counselor,
Right.
and I haven't followed up, but I hope and pray that the guidance counselor, because he was ready to go. If he had a kid who had the mechanical aptitude, he would hire her immediately and train him. So I think we need to formalize like a career,
something.
yeah, so that again, the students who want to work,
Right.
then we got a pathway. So I would take that charge. I got an idea who could do that, and hopefully at the next meeting I can report something out.
Okay. Sounds fantastic.
Jolly, question, you're talking to parents. Do we have anything that their son or daughter can be volunteering credit?
Yeah, so right now I know it's seniors that go volunteer at the elementary school. So I think there's a lot of opportunities in the district to volunteer. They just have to share with the guidance counselor, and then the guidance counselor connect them. The elementary school always can use volunteers, you know, just to be in the hallways or to help in the lunchroom and so forth. So yeah, it's if they schedule permits, of course, but then also I have talked to Mr. Swift also with the rec programs. There's probably some opportunities there too. All right, so if there's no more questions, that concludes my report. Next up, we have Doug Myers and Shy coming up to get aboard an update on the construction. We have been meeting regularly about the construction. There's a lot of activity going on at the building. These two are very in tune and will give you a great report on what's going on. All right.
Welcome. It's good to see you both.
Thank you. Nice to see you too. And for a rare time, I'm not asking for approval for anything.
We like that.
Right, no owner contingency today?
That's right,
Okay.
that's right. So we did want to go over a couple different things. First, we wanted to just talk about in general, kind of the market and the climate that we're constructing in right now.
Okay.
We wanted to give you an update as to where we are in the stadium and athletic complex. And then, of course, an update on the overall middle school, high school construction and the status of that.
Okay.
So we can go ahead. We have, right now, things are going good. It's not without challenge. And so I thought we would talk a little bit about the climate of what we're building in. And you all know through our own lives, the conditions with inflation and everything else. And construction is experiencing the same thing. We are still experiencing high rates of inflation. We're looking at different research that's been done throughout the market and throughout the country. And there are challenges that we have with long lead times for different materials. And what I wanted to talk a little bit about is how we're addressing those.
Oh, okay.
So we talk about those first and foremost. We're aware of them. And Infinity is very detailed on the management of the project. And we've seen other projects that have really fallen behind schedule and everything else. And one of the ways that you try to address that, we can't control everything. But when we're watching it closely and we start to see it fall back, then we put other plans into place. So with long lead times, we have electrical equipment. It has very, very long lead times with generators and switchgear. Early on, as we did an early award of the GMP, we missed a lot of this stuff. And then Infinity and Moody Nolan and Osborne's got on right away the shop drawing process so that we could get all the shop drawings in, get all the approvals out of the way, and Infinity can start to order a lot of these. So the good news is a lot of these things have been ordered. Bad news, there's some items that Sean says, okay, it's going to be here in May. Now he finds out it's going to be here in June. Unfortunately, early on in the project, you all know we had the steel issue and we had to kind of yield a year. So we are confident that we have enough time in the project with float so that as we have these things, we can deal with all of them, okay? And Infinity will go over the kind of the construction sequencing and everything, but as they're moving through the building, the long lead materials with roof insulation, if you drive by the site, you can see a lot of these items early on we procured so that we have them. There's other items that come up, but we're dealing with those, okay? The war in Russia and Ukraine, it's going to have an effect. We're already starting to see things. We don't know how far it's going to go, but those are other items with fuel costs and with the deliveries of materials and everything else. So we understand that we're building in a very unique time right now, okay? As a district, I think you guys have done everything that you can. You yielded the time so that we have time to manage and construct the building the correct way with quality and safety, okay? Another thing that we're dealing with is the big resignation. And construction is not immune to that. So I've heard anywhere from 20 to 40% of construction workers that have just decided to switch careers and go do something else. So that has challenges because we can put together the best plan in the world, but as we put together a plan to put together crews and workforces, and if you don't have the workforce show up, then you got to work them longer or you got to stretch the construction schedule out or whatever. So I'm speaking for Sean because we talk a lot, but I'm going to tell you what Sean's doing is he is putting together a safe, clean work site. He is putting together a detailed plan so that those workers, when they come to the project, they can work efficiently and effectively.
Oh, okay.
So they have a motivation where they can come in, get their work done, and get out. Okay? There's other challenges that we have that we're seeing, other projects that are coming up, and with the competition, there just aren't as many construction workers as there are construction jobs. So what happens is when there are jobs, there are other owners that have projects, and those contractors are incentivizing laborers to go to other projects. So that's a challenge that we're starting to deal with. And we're gonna
So
talk-
with a lot of that information, what are you thinking, is our timeline going to shift?
No, I don't see our timeline shifting.
Okay.
Because
Okay.
what we have established is in May, we're going to be finishing so that we have May, June, July to move into the school.
Oh,
And what's going to happen is we might have a little more overlap during those months.
Okay.
You know, we had some other conditions with enclosures and stuff like that, but we're working through all those issues. So I know you're gonna drive by the site, you're gonna see different things. I want to just kind of tell everybody that, hey, we're dealing with the same thing in our construction project that every other construction project is working in, and we're managing it. Okay, Infinity and Moody Nolan is managed.
So you're saying May of '23, we should be in the process of getting ready to move in?
Yep, we're going to be finishing the building, doing the punch list.
Okay.
Our furniture is going to be coming in so that in August of '23, we'll be having class.
Oh, okay.
So another quick question. You mentioned other project managers, owners are incentivizing their teams. Are we going to be forced to deal with that?
Probably. We're anticipating. And
So
it's not
what-
really the owners, it's the contracts that are doing it.
So with that, what do we think our financial impact might be?
Right now, I don't anticipate it being anything for the owner. We have a GMP in place right now, and we've given time, and I don't anticipate that the owner is going to see anything
Okay.
Oh, okay.
associated with that.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Look, on this day at 7:15, Doug said,
Not that one.
Record it.
it was
It's
a
not
joke. It
Yeah,
was a joke,
yeah.
but it was a viable question that I did
It
have.
is, and it's something that we talked about in the core meeting today. How is that addressed?
Yep.
You know?
So thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for allowing the joke. I know you
Oh,
know
yeah,
it was a joke.
absolutely.
We need a little lightness in the air based on today's.
Absolutely.
you know,
It's
where
been a
we are,
pretty heavy
so.
day for a lot of us, I think.
I can say this, I would say to the board, and I would like to, from Infinity's standpoint, in my years of experience in the business, we are in probably the most trying times that I've seen in my career, and things that are happening that I've never experienced. But 40 years of construction experience goes a long way in the process of what we're doing. I've expressed to key board members that have attended meetings and discussed with Don Jolly and Doug Myers here is that our intent is still to provide a smooth transition for the district, just like we did at PK5. But I might come in a little bumpier on the landing
Okay.
in that regard. And we did build into the schedule, as Doug said, some time, because I wanted to upfront, because of the volatility that we were seeing in the market, we didn't know where it was going, to provide us that. So times in there, the costs have already been factored in our GMP to deal with the issues that we have. But if I can't get men because they just got $10 an hour more to go
Right.
somewhere else, that becomes a time issue.
Right.
And I have that factored into
Okay.
the process. But it won't be as smooth of a landing as PK5, but I promise the board that we will land and we will turn over school in the time periods that we've indicated. And we're working toward that every day. Utilizing the 30-plus acres of land we have out there to store anything that I can get it now, get it paid for, get the material on site, so that we can, if I have the material, then it's just a matter of getting the manpower. And manpower never used to be an issue, but now that's added to my challenge as we go forward. But we're still very confident in what we can do, but every day offers something new that I haven't experienced necessarily. And it's like, okay, take a deep breath as a team and figure it out. But, and Doug's made, a comment to us is that I do take a lot of pride in how we run a job and how we communicate with our trades. I can sit here and communicate with you, but I can also talk to that labor foreman who had a rough morning and setting up and get him motivated to do what we do in regards to that. So you can count on that, every day that we're working in your best interest. I have your best interest at heart. When I did the presentation on this project, I said, I'm going to follow it through to the bitter end, and I will. And then, frankly, I'm retiring after that point. But I look forward to the continued challenge, and I will work in your best interest.
Thank you.
Could we progress the slides? Thank you. Another one? Great. So the stadium status update, what we've done when Infinity first did the estimates, they came in higher than what we'd expected. And so we asked them to go ahead and to look at it in greater detail. So they reached deeper into the trades, getting some more accurate pricing and everything. And it is in excess of what we had planned. So we're continuing to work on cost reduction items. And we are going to be meeting with the key vendors, with the field, the turf, and the track and the bleachers, so that we can talk to them directly. We did have an initial bid, so we can kind of know where they came in, who came in low, and we're going to ask them, so what do you see now? What recommendations do you have? Should we be buying this early? and try to adjust our estimating then. Then we'll finalize the scope so that O Sports can then put together out another complete set of documents that can be bid. Those will be bid this summer. We might have early awards depending on how these meetings go next week. So that, again, we can get the bleachers and the turf under contract, even though it's going to be a year before we need it. We can get it awarded now. I think it's going to be better. So then we're anticipating a GMP in August and starting construction in May of 2023 with the completion for next fall, in fall 2023. I threw that in because I know it's been a while since we talked, so it was, the design has not changed. The effort to understand the costs and to validate all of that is kind of taken us some time. All right. And next slide. So as far as the GMP, so this is just a kind of revisiting. For GMP number 2 is over $57 million. This is all contracted to Infinity for building the middle school and the high school. Okay. What that doesn't include is the stadium, and it doesn't include the demolition of the 2 other elementary schools. But beyond that, you know, this is pretty much what we have. So you've already have this contracted into the project. So as Infinity has that contract, then they award to their trades, and they give them contracts. Okay. So not all of those have been awarded yet. So as we're tracking those, we have what's called buyout savings, and that's the difference between what they said the GMP should cost, and then as they're awarding it. If it comes in low, then that money is called a buyout savings that goes back to the district. If it comes in high, that's part of the CMR risk that is under the contracting model, and then that's what they have to cover. So this, as of right now, is 192,000 of the buyout savings, but we still have technology, which is about a $1.8 million allowance, FF&E, which is about $1.8 million allowance. Those technology has been bid out. We're getting ready to award that. So as far as the long lead times, we're going to get those awarded so we can get those purchased so that we have those for us. Those are slight, they've come in at slightly higher, about 200,000 higher than what our allowance is. So we're going to have a detailed meeting to go over that. And if we decide that we're okay with everything, you know, that takes the buyout savings down to the balance. Okay. We still have FF&E that we have some concerns with, but we're going to competitively bid that, and we'll have alternates and everything else to try to manage, you know, costs increases. And then with site, asphalt, and landscaping, those are just farther down the road, so they just haven't been awarded yet. Now, the CMR contingency, so we have in the contract a contingency with Infinity so that they have to cover unknown conditions that they have to deal with out, you know, that isn't on the owner. So right now, there have been issues that some of they've taken care of, some items I think were associated with some requests that we made. But right now, they still have $758,000 of CMR contingency. Okay, so that's a safeguard as the project goes through. Okay, so when I answered your question, I was thinking, well, if Infinity has to dig into acceleration or something because of a cost issue, then that would be the pool of money that they would draw on. It wouldn't be additional funds from the district.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
The next slide, please. So as we're managing the project, we have Infinity's contract, but then we also have the owner contingency, the 1.3 million we started with the project. So that's the pool of funds that we manage for owner changes, for unforeseen changes, and so on and so forth. So to date, we have executed $630,000 of change orders,
Okay.
and we track pending change orders so that we can always kind of look ahead to make sure that we're not falling short, so that we have time to address that. And so we have potential change orders of about 310,000 that might go higher, it might go lower. So right now, we have 672,000 of owner contingency remaining. We're anticipating with the other 300,000, once we spend that, we'll still have $362,000 of owner contingency. Okay? And next slide. So with the middle schools, the demolition of the middle school and the demolition of Eastwood. So as we went out for bid for those, again, those came in high, right? And then we actually took a closer look at all of the abatement, and we defined tighter specifications and drawings. And when they were bid out, they actually came in right on. So it was pretty good for the middle school. It's been abated and demolished. There's some site concrete work that needs to take place, but that's pretty much done. We had very minimal issues that we dealt with. Eastwood, the abatement and demolition is complete. They're working on the final grading. On that project, we did find that there was a crawl space that was much larger than the architects and Infinity had seen, that even the district knew about. So that was a change order that we're managing in the project. But all in all, both of those projects, I think, went really well. And the next slide. So then we'll get into schedule, and Sean can go ahead and take over from here.
What I'll do, and Don, you're very familiar with this, is that what I do is when I set up to build a building, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. How do you build a building? One section at a time. So we divide it by quadrants. Your quadrant A is your high school wing. That's your 3-story section. To the right of it on the angle, that's your administrative area. And the area E is a walkway that takes you to the recreational center. So we are, and I'll describe things in A that we're working on, but that is our most far along section of work. And you'll see the photos and such. So we're weather tight almost. I was actually walking the roof just before I came here, and we got some details to work through, but we started our interior framing. We're doing our rough-in work and such, and we're proceeding on that. Part of area A is the auditorium that's just below the letter A, and we're just now going to enclose that. It's going to take a little longer because I got to excavate it out because of the grades and such that are in there. Area B is your main gym, your middle school gym, and what I call the athletic complex component of it, the locker rooms, the wrestling room, the dance room, so the coaches' offices, the laundry, all the infrastructure with that component. That is under structures up. It's in varying levels of roof systems and enclosure, and we're working through that. Area C is partially on the bottom is your middle school. The upper part of it is your kitchen area, your dining, and I'll say your dining reception area that would be as your access point for the public into the high school gym and such. So that is steel, is not even up. I got partial work in place. It's the mud hole, I'll just call it in that regard, and we're working through that. Area D is the completion of the middle school, primary, the classroom section of that. That's a 2-story structure, structural frames up. We haven't tied it into section F, which is the existing science center. We're in conversations with Don in regards that he indicated earlier on potentially early access, so we can demo that and try and move that a little bit further up into the process. So that's when I'll look at the items that are complete. I'm going to talk about area A. I'm going to talk about area B. I'm going to talk about area C and D. This is what it looks like. So
Okay.
as you look at it, so at some point as we get into the summer, early summer, I wanted to set up a time where we could bring the board out and where we could do a nice tour to walk through the facility. There's a lot of square footage in your new school. So I get tired walking from one end to the other multiple times during the day. But so that gives you a flavor of how we're building it in the quadrants, and it doesn't even address site work. We don't even have site work on there. That's a whole other animal. That's part of the process and how we proceed. As we proceed through the year, we'll discuss the occupancy component, the demolition of the middle school or the existing high school, what that means for egress in and out while we're doing that as we work through, because your final completion of everything isn't until November of 23, because I need to demo the existing high school. And guess what? I got to build your parking lot. I got to build your bus access. I got to build the rest of the, parking, and then all that logistics up front. So it takes a little bit of time, but we got a nice plan in place for that. So there's your sequence.
And F is?
F is
Science.
the existing science wing.
Oh, the science one.
So I've just hit some highlights here. Concrete slab on grade work. I call it my real estate. Once I get my hard surface, my concrete slabs, then I have workable surfaces. We're starting on the administrative area this week, and that'll allow for continuation of the interior work in that area. Load-bearing masonry in area C and masonry stair tower in 5 are complete. That's from C to D. That was very critical to me because I have steel that ties into masonry bearing points. So I needed my masonry done so I can put my beams in that were in columns and beams to complete my structure. So that was a major milestone for us, so we can continue on our structural steel. Interior masonry work in area A and athletic area B is in progress. We're working those on the inside while we're doing the exterior work on the masonry. We have a crew of 15 masons and laborers on our site, and the balance is that we all know it rains, snows, and spring. We lived in Ohio, so I got to be able to work outside, and then when it's raining, I have to have access for the guys inside. So I keep those 15 people working. If I can't keep them working, I lose them. So that's how we balance that to deal with Mother Nature and what it does to us this time of year. Structural steel joists and deck in the high school gym, middle school gym, and athletic section are complete. So my steel frame's up. Now I have to work on my roof structure and my exterior wall, but I got my frame up. Steel frame, structural steel middle school, C and D, as I described earlier, are progressing. I got my masonry walls up. Now I can put my steel up. Now I can continue to build my structure and begin to get it enclosed. Exterior wall framing, sheathing, temporary protection, high school and admin areas are complete, so I'm tight enough so I can work on interior work. We have a details exterior, what we call air barrier. Air barrier is a component of your exterior wall assembly that gives you your water tightness. And that's a critical component, and we're starting on that. If you drive by in Warrensville Center, we're working on the masonry on the western face. That'll be the first face that'll be finished on a finished basis. I'm looking for windows to arrive June 1. I'm going to start putting windows in. So you'll start seeing the structure taking on the finished look as we go through the summer. Next slide, Jonathan. Interior wall framing and drywall, progressing to high school. I told you that section. We're doing the interior work. We're doing on the rough-in. We got a lot of major rough-in that's to be done for the restroom. You got sanitary lines, you got vent lines, you got water lines. So you got to make sure those all run up, get them connected, get them tested before I can do the masonry work. So I have to have that done. So that's critical, and we're working on that right now. Storm drains, critical. Once I get a structure up, I got to get a roof on it. I got to put storm drains in. I need to tie in so when it rains, it's not raining in the building. I can get the storm water to get to the outside of the building, and we're tying that in. So we're working through that. Go ahead.
So quick question. I know there were a lot of emails back and forth about that water line issue. Are
At
we
the high school.
at the high school?
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
So are we set where we should not have any more issues with that going forward with future construction?
With the permit
Yeah.
and the coordination for
By
that,
the Water department for the
in the
city.
water department.
Yeah, when the water was cut off, I guess
Yeah,
we still don't know how. You know when the water was cut off.
Yes, they do.
You know,
I-
glycol and all of
Well, what I'll say is that we need to have more communications between Don and myself to ensure that any utility company that has to communicate directly with the district on disconnects, that when those calls are made, and if it goes to someone by Don, his internally, the messaging needs to get to Don, and that needs to get back to me so I can assist on the coordinating that. I
Okay.
have done this on all the utilities at this point is that had some conversations, but ultimately, when I'm not the owner of the building, they won't contact me. And I have to list this Don as the main contact, but when it goes to a general number at the office, at the Board of Education office, we have to have some protocol. And I think we talked about that protocol because what transpired to me was very unacceptable to particularly have it disconnected and none of us know and have it happen on a Saturday and then come on a Monday morning and go, what's going on? So I am more aware of now that has happened and I would be asking Don is that, hey, if you get a call from these people, make sure that we talk in advance. Because what transpired is, as I indicated, very unacceptable. And I think the city of Cleveland Water Department's doing a lot of backpedaling right now because it's just, I can't comprehend why they would disconnect a building when they weren't supposed to disconnect it until 23.
Okay.
Yeah, we
The
need
other
to- we
question
need to-
that I had was the glycol. How did that get in the lines?
I don't know the full details of that, so I'm not sure, but you should have backflow preventer tests done every year. And if those were done and the backflow failed, I don't know the details because it's in an existing building on the maintenance side of it that I think from Don's side, from a maintenance basis needs to be answered. So our contractors aren't involved in that because it's done by, the city of Cleveland Water Department hires a contractor that we don't even know. They can pick who they want to do the work, but then when they're tying it back in, and then you had the contamination of the domestic, there's something internally that, needs to be reviewed, and I can't answer that on what transpired.
So we could have Lester have a full explanation.
And that would be the person most definitely that should provide the response, because I don't know, but.
Okay.
You know what happened inside.
Some pictures. The top pictures, that's your administrative office in Area A. To the right of that is your 3-story structure, your high school wing. So that is your east facing. The little southwest corner, that is what we call an architectural feature. We call it the eyebrow. That's on the northeast corner of the building. That'll be curtain wall. That'll be finished in a metal panel. I don't remember the color of the metal panels on right now. So I'm sure the architect has those very well coordinated. That gives you a view of what that will look like. That'll be all glass. So those 2 stories there, as you come in, there'll be some classrooms that'll be exposed to that east elevation and north. Be a very nice feature.
Pretty.
That is your west elevation. That's the west elevation that I'm working on right now. You can see in the foreground is the athletic section, and that's the masonry work that we're starting coming down to the north. So that will be the first elevation that you'll see that we'll be completing. The administrative roof, you are on the roof looking back at the eyebrows in the high school portion of the project. So I'm standing probably on the southeast corner of the administration, which is very close to where the main entrance will be for the high school. There's your west elevation early picture. We're a lot farther along than that picture was taken. That was only Friday. I mean, I'm halfway up with that wall right now. I'm very proud of that picture on our efforts that we have. and that's your west elevation of your athletic section. That is the veneer work. That veneer work is now halfway up that wall, and that's with Friday that we're on there. The area A, that's the southwest corner. That is the loading dock area, and that is part of area C. That's on the west. And then if you head down it, that takes you into area D, and then in the foreground there is the science wing in that regard. The one picture to the right, that's just a close-up of the area B, west elevation. It's in your interior, so you can just, okay, this is actually area B. This is in the interior of that. You can see that what's critical, the one to the right, that's the middle school lockers. I got to build all those. Those are all the restrooms, the toilets, the urinals, the sinks. I got to do all that plumbing work before I can build the masonry around it. So we're working on that. We just got those tests passed, and so next week, when I looked at the forecast, it's supposed to snow next week. I'm like, this is what I need, rain and snow. So we'll be inside next week. So high school locker wing, that just gives you a shot down the high school locker wing and what that looks like, and it's all open space right now. Athletic corridor that separates the athletic section from the gymnasiums on the other side. Next slide, Jonathan. There's your student dining. Okay, that's your area C that I told you, structural steel.
Mud pit you're
Yeah,
talking
this is
about.
my mud pit area. So, so your kitchen area, there's your kitchen, your high school kitchen. There it is, right there to the left, you know, so you can visualize it, right? They got all the plumbing in and everything stubbed up. So got to just get a structure over it. And then that's a view from the middle school. So you're standing in the middle school in there, and I'm looking to the southeast, which is the high school or the middle school 2-story section in D. And then you can see the science wing and behind that. Gives you a view of that. Next slide, Jonathan. Here's some interior shots in your high school section. There's your learning stair. Goes from first to second floor. Second floor framing, a restroom. So you can see that we're moving along on the interiors of the high school section. And more of the high school. So that the third floor. So some of the framing. We have framing on all 3 levels as we're proceeding right now. So we're going levels 1, 2, and 3 of the building. And I think that's it.
Wow, it's impressive.
Coming along.
It is.
Really coming along.
Thank you.
It's massive. It's a massive.
It's a big amount.
Every time I drive by, I just look and I kind of just
Yeah.
really slow down so I can take a look. Yeah, this is great. Thank you all for coming
Thank you.
in.
All right.
Thank you
Thank
very
Board, were
much.
there any
Appreciate
other
your support.
questions?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
All right.
thank you so very much.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for a great update.
All right.
Y'all have a good evening and a good weekend, good holiday.
All right.
All right, Mr. Jolly, again, thanks to you and the team for leading such a wonderful charge. This is going to be exciting to see our middle and high school campus go up. All right, we decided to table item 3.1, so we're going to move on to the next portion of our agenda. And if I can please have a motion on the floor to approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentation for personnel and programs. The first one is item 4.1, a culinary field trip to Columbus State Community College. The second one is item 4.2, CTAG out-of-state field trip.
Madam Chair, I will move item number 4 on tonight's work section, 4.1 and 4.2.
Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you, ma'am. Board, before we move forward with the vote, are there any questions, thoughts, comments on this?
Mr. Jolly, for 4.1, what is the cost?
Sorry?
Is there a cost?
Yeah, it is, because we have to pay for entrance into the competition and hotels.
Oh,
So it should say, I'm sorry, should say, there is a fiscal impact.
Do we know what it is?
I think,
It'll fall within the CPAC budget, which is
yeah.
But this is item 4.1 though.
right.
No, yeah, this is culinary. I believe it's not over $2,000, so can we put $2,000?
Oh, okay, all right.
All right, well, we will make that adjustment to today's agenda. And Dr. Rock, you'll catch that in our meeting minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Jolly? All right, hearing none. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
Mrs. Newman,
Yes,
Mr. Roberts,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell.
Yes, motion passes 4-0. So next on our agenda, Dr. Rock, do we have any correspondence? Thank you, sir. Mr. Jolly, Dr. Rock, are there any announcements?
No, it's Friday is Good Friday, there's no school on Friday. Everyone returns to work on Monday.
Okay. Just note, we'll note for the meeting minutes, we will have both Vice President Roberts and Board Member Freeman attend the OSBA BLI conference this coming May. So Dr. Rock, if you can please catch that in the minutes. And if there are no further announcements, may I please have a motion on the floor to adjourn the April 13th work session meeting?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn tonight's work session.
Thank you. May I have a second?
I second it.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for a great meeting this evening. Have a good evening and have a wonderful holiday weekend.
Holiday, oh.